Awesome.
We ready?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start our meeting. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Wednesday, July 31st regular commission meeting. I will open our meeting with public comment on a subject that's not on the agenda that the commission has jurisdiction over. I know we have one emergency resolution to read into the record today, and then we'll move on with Howard. Go ahead, Ed.
Me first?
Yes.
Ed Schindel, Broadwater Rural Fire District Fire Chief. We have resolution number 2024 I did not get a number on that.
Angie will assign that once we
Okay.
approve it.
Resolution designating high fire hazard areas and implementing stage 1 fire restrictions. Whereas high temperatures and low precipitation have caused dry fuels, poor soil moisture conditions, and low water supplies, resulting in high and likely to increase wildland fire danger within Broadwater County. And whereas the weather forecast for Broadwater County call for high winds, high temperatures, and low relative humidity, which indicates little relief from the hot and dry conditions. Whereas National Forest System lands within the Helena, Lewis, and Clark National Forest bordering Broadwater County have moved to stage 1 fire restrictions on July 20th, 2024. And whereas pursuant to Code 7-33-2212 1, Montana Code Annotated, the Broadwater County Board of County Commissioners may designate areas on private land or on land that is not under the jurisdiction of a municipality or a state or federal agency as high fire hazard areas. It is hereby resolved that the Broadwater County Board of Commissioners declares that all the private land not under the jurisdiction of the municipalities or state or federal agencies is a high fire hazard area. It is hereby further resolved that stage 1 fire restrictions are in effect for all private lands in Broadwater County due to high wildland fire danger, and it is hereby further resolved that all activities that might potentially cause a fire shall cease immediately and be prohibited until further notice on all private lands in Broadwater County, Montana. Activities that might cause a fire include, but are not limited to, building, maintaining, attending, or using a fire or campfire except within a developed recreation site or improved site unless noted in the exemptions below. Smoking except within an enclosed vehicle or building, a developed recreation site, or while stopped in an area at least 3 feet in diameter that is barren or cleared of all flammable materials. Allowed exemptions: campfires on private property are exempt as long as they are within an improved metal or concrete fire ring and are no larger than 3 feet wide, 3 feet long, and 3 feet high. Flame lengths may not exceed 3 feet. Campfires must be supervised by a responsible person of at least 18 years of age. Person using a device solely fueled by liquid petroleum or LPG fuels, which can be turned on and off. Such devices may only be used in an area that is barren or cleared of all overhead and surrounding flammable materials within 3 feet of the device. Persons with a written permit which specifically authorizes the otherwise prohibited act. Any federal, state, or local officer or member of an organized rescue or firefighting force in the performance of an official duty or fire suppression activity. All land within a city boundary. Other exemptions unique to each agency or tribe. An exemption does not absolve an individual or organization from liability or responsibility for any fire started by the exempted activity. Be it further resolved, this resolution takes effect immediately upon signing and shall remain in effect until such time as it may be rescinded by the Broadwater County Board of Commissioners. Passed and adopted by the Broadwater County Board of Commissioners this 31st day of July 2024.
All right. Well, I don't know how much the county got rain last night. I know I got a little bit, which was helpful for a small period of time, but
I got some on Sunday.
yeah. All right. Any other discussion? Yeah. Any thoughts? Right. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
I move to approve the resolution designating high fire hazard areas and implementing stage 1 fire restrictions.
I'll second that motion.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt a resolution designating high fire hazard areas and implementing stage 1 fire restrictions. Is there public discussion? Any public discussion? Any public discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so Angie will assign out a resolution number, and we will send you an executed copy, okay, Ed?
Okay.
All right?
Can I get one too, please?
And, okay, you bet. All right. Next is thing on the agenda. I will turn this meeting over to Commissioner Randolph. I am recusing myself from
I
this.
believe we have another public comment.
Oh, we do? Okay, I'm sorry.
Just sit down.
Dang it, I wanted to
I
get
thought you
ahead.
were going to turn the meeting over to Howard.
Well, I could. I forgot to write that down. Is there any other public comment?
Could I?
Yes.
Absolutely, thank you.
Commissioners, thank you for having a great blue sky day today.
Yes.
My name is Howard Shervum. The last name is spelled S-K-J-E-R-V-E-M, and I represent Northwestern Energy. Thank you for giving me a couple times during public comment today to touch on two different situations, if I might. You talk about the fires and the things happening in the forest. I think we're all too well aware over the last couple of weeks what's been happening here in Montana. And one of the things that Northwestern Energy has been doing, along with many utilities across the nation, are coming up with a new wildfire mitigation plan. And in this plan, you know, for decades, we previously Montana Power and now Northwestern Energy, we've always had a wildfire plan to be able to take care of our infrastructure when it's out going through especially in the timbered areas of Montana. But there is a strong emphasis at this point that we need to come up with a new plan and get it down to specifics in different areas of the state. When our group, we have a fire mitigation group now, when they work with with NOAA, with the U.S. Forest Service, when they work with DNRC, to look at not only what the weather conditions are coming, but what the timber is looking, what the tinder is looking at, like up in the mountain areas specifically. And so we have came up with a plan, and we just wanted to let you know what that was and maybe explain a little bit about how that works. We have created what's called a dashboard. And in that dashboard, it takes all of the factors together. You can see on the back part of the page there, it talks about the temperature. When NOAA says there's going to be a high temperature coming down the line, we look at the humidity, we look at the wind possibilities coming, and the vegetation, the state of the vegetation that's in the areas, whether it be even a wooded area on the outside of town, or whether it's up in the mountains themselves. So we have worked with the different government agencies to come up with a map. There's a new fire map in Montana. We've taken and overlaid our infrastructure over all of the different mappings that the Forest Service and others have to show where we interface our infrastructure with the forests, the drylands that are out there. And so the difference in this, and historically we have always said with the DES and the wildfire individuals that, consider our lines live. If there is something going on out there, the lines are always going to be live, and not that people still shouldn't take that into consideration and look at that, but now we've came up with a program that we will proactively ahead of time in certain situations as a matter of last resort turn lines off, which will go into many different valleys and areas of the forest where we have lines that are running through that, and in a proactive manner trying to help where there wouldn't be a power line that starts a fire in the forest itself or in the woods itself. I think we've all saw what happened in California, Hawaii, Oregon, and Colorado in the last few years, and we want to be a good neighbor, and we don't want to be the source of starting a fire, which, as we all know, devastates so many different people, structures, and the land that is out there. So I'll just say up front that early last week, we probably put out a social media report and a couple other announcements that didn't mislead but overstated the fact, and there were a number of people that said they're going to shut off the whole state, the power lines to all the state because of the heavy winds that were coming through. And I think we all recognize the winds in some areas did come through. Look at Missoula and the situation that all of us in the state of Montana faced with that happening. But we really want to emphasize the fact that we're not just going to carte blanche turn off power to large areas. The new dashboard really works so specifically that they can go down to the circuit, they can go down to a very small area and say this is where the heavy risk is going to be. Last week specifically, west of Helena, the Birdseye area, south of Helena towards the Montana City area, and over by Canyon Ferry, that was the risk area that the dashboard specified was going to be. Not all across the state. And so on a daily basis, we have a group of individuals that sit down, get together, look at all of these factors that have been pulled together. And it really is more of a 72-hour minimum effect that they would come out and say, at 72 hours, they would say, because of the dashboard saying there is a heavy risk there, we're in a monitoring stage. And we would look at that and determine, is this something that looks like it could turn into a situation? Then at about 48 to 72 hours, as they're watching the dashboard, it would become a watch. If that continues, where that heavy risk is still there, at about less than 48 hours, 24 to 48, then if it still appears very strongly that that's going to happen, at that point it would go to a warning that this area, and again it's going to be specific to the areas that are happening with that, and then at about 24 hours in that range, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, if it appeared very strongly that that was going to be an area of risk, we are going to send an alert out and say your power is probably going to go out within the next 24 hours. Now, some may say, how are you going to notify people? You guys have a great system that I know as far as sending out notifications to your constituents across the county. We are working on that same thing. We have email addresses and cell phone numbers and sadly landlines that haven't been used in probably 10 years on our system. And so we are making a concerted effort at this point to talk to our customers to say, please, you can go in and create your own sign-on your account under our website, under a thing called My Account, and it'll tell you everything about your account and update your information so that we know when we send out an email or a text that it's going to the right one. Or you can just call our 888 number where our customer care group will go ahead and input that information for you. So that's going to be a vital part because that's how we're going to communicate. We're still going to communicate with your county DES and the sheriff's department and all of that, and we'll be calling on that. And I think we have a pretty good number set up on that one. But that's the way this system now works. Then at the time when we feel it's going to go off shortly before that, we'll send out saying the power is going off within an hour or something like that. And then one last thing on that is that once that power goes off and the risk has passed over, the wind or the heat has passed over, we don't want people to think that we'll just turn the switch back on at that point, because we recognize that when there's especially those high wind situations, there could be trees and lines all across, and so we do have to patrol. We have contracts with helicopter firms where our line guys would go out and check that out to make sure it's safe, drones, and also foot and vehicle patrol of our lines. So it could be 24, 48 hours before we can restore to that area, just because we don't want to start the power back up and cause an issue at that point that would defeat everything we did before that. So that's basically our program there. Hopefully the information you have there, and we have a great website that's been created on our website. A link, if you go to that, the wildfire mitigation link right there goes into much more detail. I know I'm just touching the top of it right now, but it really it goes into a lot of detail on every factor that we look at and how we're going to handle that. Main emphasis. It's going to be the last resort. We're not just going to turn it off just because we think it may be hot tomorrow. And also the fact that it's going to be a very small area, pockets. Think of a bubble on a map. That's really what we're going to be looking at.
Sure. I mean, I went to the website, and there's some great information for people to prepare. They need to store some water and some things like that in case it does happen. So I would encourage people to do that.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. And I think that really is vital that we live in Montana, kind of a remote area as a state, and being prepared for that, and in the winter of both without power, it's good to do. So thank you. So if I could take just a couple more minutes here quickly, and the other handout that I handed to you, Northwestern Energy for years has been looking at making sure that the reliability of our natural gas system is also where it should be. And one of the things that's happened, I think we all recognize that the Gallatin Valley, that area has grown substantially, and now it's coming over into Broadwater and Lewis and Clark and the others. But we have a gas pipeline that comes from Cutbank, goes down, literally down towards Butte, across Homestake into the Gallatin Valley. And there is also a line that comes from Dry Creek over by Red Lodge. But there really is those lines. There isn't a good loop other than that. And so the decision was made late last year. We announced it just recently that we are going to install a high pressure gas line, natural gas line, that'll go from East Helena down to Three Forks. The contact with the residents and the property owners, landowners along that line is starting now. And so you probably will hear people say that they're being contacted by our lands people, talking about easements going through that area. This is going to take about a year to get the plan in place as far as working with landowners, getting everything else taken care of there. Some of it's a little bit of government land and some of it's private loaned land. We're going to follow pretty much as we can the Yellowstone pipeline, the high pressure line that goes through there, so it's not going to interfere with a lot of other people's land use. And as you know, with a pipeline, when it goes in, it's different than even when we put in an electric transmission line. After a year, you really don't know it's there, except for the few markers up and down the line. But that is happening, and with the plan at this point, construction would be in 2026 is when they would start that. Honestly, it'll take about a little over 2 years to get the full amount done that goes through there. It will become part of your tax base. So is the county commission. That's never a bad thing there. But that'll happen and probably not go truly into service until late 28, early 29. And at that point, it's the transmission line that carries it. And at that point, as they're building that, you know, they'll do some off ramps. So we'll be able to put natural gas into a few areas, and the engineers are still doing the study exactly where theirs are going to be, but a high probability that it'll be one just outside of Townsend on the other side of the river, which could give the opportunity to bring natural gas into Townsend. So it's a long process. So, you know, I know we all would love to say, you know, Paul, I know up at the plant would love to see it happen this week so that he could have that up there. But it's a long-term project, but we are in the process of going through that at this time.
All right, good. I know it's something that Commissioner Randolph and I spoke with you on multiple occasions, and I know commissioners before us have talked about it. So
it's
great.
been long in coming.
It's
Yeah.
great to see it finally happen, and I think it'll be wonderful for our community to get that here.
Great.
So thanks.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Thank you, commissioners. I really appreciate the time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Any questions? Anybody have any questions?
No, very excited.
No?
Great.
You're off the hook.
Thanks much. Okay, that's good.
All right, great. Now I will recuse myself.
Next item on the agenda is airport hangar lease for Cody and Daryl Folkford. That is why Commissioner Folkford is going to join the Publix. Broadwater County lease agreement. This would, if passed, would go into effect as soon as we sign it, and is for commercial. There's non-commercial leases out there and commercial, and okay is still here. I can't see you.
Oh, I'm here.
Is there anything you want to add to this?
Nothing to add. I've reviewed the lease and it's legally sufficient, and it's the same lease that anybody would be provided with.
Thank you. And went through the same process that anybody again would go through. And the airport board did approve this, correct?
That's my understanding, and it's just up to the commissioners for their final
Yep.
signatures and the attestation of the clerk and recorder. I believe she is on there, and if not, I misspoke.
Nope, I believe so.
Okay.
I do have the original somewhere here. I will find it. Any questions for you or comments, Lindsay?
No, I read through it. Looks good. He's happy.
Is there a motion?
I move to approve the Broadwater County Airport lease agreement for Cody and Daryl Holford. I should say airport hangar lease agreement.
And I will second that. Any public comment? Any public comment? Any comments? There's a motion and a second to approve the Broadwater County Airport lease agreement for Cody and Daryl Folkford. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We will get this signed, and it just needs...
Thank you. I like sitting out there much better.
Don't get used to it. Pass that down to
All right,
Angie.
thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Randolph, for taking over the meeting.
You bet.
Okay, next on our agenda, Community Development Director Planner, Nicole Brown, Parks and Recreation Board Master Plan Recommendation.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nicole Brown, Broadwater County Community Development Director, here today in representation of the Broadwater County Parks and Recreation Board. I have a few documents. Make sure I keep them separate.
Thank you.
Two versions, they're separate.
Oh, is this,
Okay.
they're both Exhibit A.
Yeah, they are.
Okay,
both
I just wanna
Exhibit
make sure,
A,
okay.
But they are
They're
two
different, I
They are
see
two
that
different
now.
documents,
I see.
but they do both state exhibit.
Okay, I'm with you.
So what I have presented to you commissioners are two different scopes of work for a master plan for the Broadwater County owned property. Just to give a little backstory, Broadwater County acquired property from the Bureau of Reclamation in 2019 through the Public Lands Access Program. The county we received this property. It was free, essentially. There was no charge to the county to acquire this property, but the county really should be doing something recreational with these properties. And so when I say these properties, I did not provide you with a map, but I think most of you commissioners are familiar with it. But for the audience here and also those being at home, there are two parcels, which is why there are two separate scopes of work. One parcel is approximately 80 acres, and it is off of, what would it be, east of Canton Lane and south of Delger. Approximately 80 acres. A better reference point may be the Connors Field sits on this property, as well as the Broadwater Rod and Gun Club trap shooting range, and the, I believe you call it the clubhouse, sits on this property also. The other parcel is just around 10 acres, and it is south of Centerville and west of Mill Road. So it's kind of a long, narrow 10-acre strip. So the reason you have two scopes of work in front of you, the Broadwater County Parks and Rec Board over the last, I want to say 4, 5, maybe even 6 meetings, had looked at a master plan to do something with these properties. And when I say something, I mean recreational, but we just don't know what that type of recreational use would be until we do a master plan and actually speak to the citizens of Broadwater County to determine what it is that they're desiring, right? So Broadwater County Parks and Rec Board had been meeting, speaking with Great West Engineering, specifically Jerry Grabentz and Kevin Engsland. We'd asked for two separate master plans because the Centerville property seems to be a piece of property that maybe something could be done with more imminently. And again, something recreational could be done with more imminently because it is not encumbered by any leases, agreements. It's literally just a 10-acre vacant parcel. So Commissioner Rickmeyer, who acts as the commissioner liaison to the Parks and Recreation Board, Commissioner Rickmeyer and myself had a meeting with Great West Engineering, specifically Jerry and Kevin, and said, okay, this is the direction the Parks and Recreation Board is considering doing a master plan for only the 10-acre piece on Centerville. However, we had asked Jerry and Kevin what their thoughts were on doing a more comprehensive plan. Great West Engineering's response was that it makes more sense to do a comprehensive plan, as in the 80-acre piece on Canton and the 10-acre piece on Centerville. Because, for a couple of reasons. One, you still have to go through the same process. You're reaching out to the public, surveys, public meetings. You still have to go through the same exercise for both a comprehensive, or if you were to do them singularly, as in do Centerville 1 year and maybe the Canton property in 5 years. Also, the cost difference isn't terribly different, but really, as we know, engaging the public for an initial exercise, the public has been fabulous in responding and saying this is what we want, but to come back again in 5 years and say, okay, now we want to do it with this parcel, that can be confusing, as in, a member of the public could say, well, we already did this 5 years ago, why are we doing it again? So it just made sense to do the comprehensive plan and talking with Great West Engineering. So all of that backstory to tell you why I'm here today, the Parks and Recreation Board at their last meeting, which I don't recall the date, it was last week sometime, I want to say last Thursday, actually. Yeah, the 25th. The Parks and Recreation Board made a motion to recommend that the commissioners allow the Parks and Rec Board to move forward with the full comprehensive plan. The cost of the comprehensive plan is $45,000. The cost of just the Centerville plan is $25,000. And so I don't have a singular cost for only the Canton piece. So Centerville only is $25,000, full comprehensive for both parcels, all 90 acres, $45,000. I'm not asking you for that money today, so I just want you to put a pin in that dollar amount. But the main reason that the Parks and Rec Board recommends that the commissioners look at doing this master plan is really, it's not going to get cheaper, right? To move forward and do another master plan in 5 years, the costs are only going to go up, and we don't want to lose the public's engagement or involvement, or make it seem like we're requesting redundant information. So, with all of that, I'm here today to request that the commissioners make a motion on whether you would prefer the Parks and Rec Board move forward with a comprehensive plan or the Centerville only plan. With that, again, let me preface that I am not asking you for any dollar amount today. The Parks and Rec Board is currently working on putting together a grant request that will be submitted to the Trust Board. So I'm not asking the commissioners to fund this project. I'm simply asking for the commissioners' decision on which version of the master plan you would like to move forward, or third option, if you would not like to move forward with a master plan at all. I suppose that's also an option. And I'm free to answer any questions you may have.
Can I add a couple things?
Of course you can.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, cool.
I don't know why I said yes. Sorry.
Thank you. No, I say we, but the board has done a really good job of reaching out and talking to a lot of the more vocal interest groups in the area, requesting feedback. And I think one of the common things they found after the last meeting was even Rod and Gun, who has another 5 years on their lease on that property off of Canton and Belger, even they said, you guys should be planning bigger scope, plan for more. You can't just plan, and you don't want to put, there's a need for baseball right now. We don't want to hodgepodge a field here and hodgepodge a field there. There's a need to take everything into consideration, and I think that helps everyone plan, even though it might change down the road. There might be different needs in 5 years for that specific piece, but I think looking at all of that property in that area comprehensively seemed to be supported by all the different groups and some of the public participants that had come to the meetings.
Okay, good. Nicole, was there a discussion from Jerry on an estimated time to complete this plan if they were to get the okay to go?
Yes, Commissioner, there was 6 to 8 months, probably more on the 8-month side of
Okay.
things.
I guess in my mind, probably for a lot of the reasons you stated, it makes sense to do the comprehensive plan. We've done a couple of master plans since I've been here, and they've been very beneficial. We know that the only way that you can access grants is to have a master plan in place. If you don't, you're just talking. So, and as you mentioned, they would have to do another master plan in a couple years. I think it makes sense to just get it all done now. So that's my thoughts. That would be my consideration.
I have a question.
Yes.
A couple. So based on, let's assume that we pass today the comprehensive plan. So then that is what the Parks and Rec Board will take to the Trust Board? Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Okay. It's usually the Trust Board, it's a different formula or different process than what we've done before.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the agency or the group goes to the Trust Board, and then the Trust Board comes to the Commission for final
I
approval.
think maybe in this case, the rec boards try wanting us to help them decide which direction they would be most successful at, right?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. That is absolutely why, because there were two options.
Yes.
And given that you are the governing body, I personally felt, and in speaking with Commissioner Rickmeyer, it seemed like it was prudent to come before the commissioners just to make sure that the commission, the governing body, didn't have a different idea on this master plan. So,
Sure.
yes, absolutely, you will see it again, Commissioner Randolph, hopefully in the form of being received or coming to the commissioners through the Trust Board.
Gotcha.
If we're successful in the grant
Right.
application. I don't want to be so bold to think that we will, but yes, you will have an opportunity. This is simply just to get the commissioner's decision on which option you would prefer to see
Our
move forward.
desire, okay.
Okay.
So what would happen then if, again, let's just assume we send forward the comprehensive plan, and the trust board then comes back and says, no, we just, for funding or for whatever
Right.
reasons, wants to just do the smaller plan.
You know, here's what I think. I think maybe today we shouldn't really make this decision.
That's kind of where I'm going
Yeah,
with
I
it.
understand where you're going. It
Should not.
Should not. I mean, that still would be up to the rec board and between the rec board and the trust board to make that decision, but,
I think the Parks and Rec Board was looking, we sat down and
Mhm.
discussed a timeline, kind of worked backwards for, you know, what the approval process and what they were looking at. And I think they were looking, again, just for kind of that I don't want to say blessing, but just that guidance
Yeah.
from the commission to say, hey, yeah, go forward with this. Yes, you've got our approval, we think this is a
yeah,
good
I
idea.
just think we can say we support that.
I'm in support of either, both, all of, I've been through a couple master plans.
Yep.
They are worth every single dime. Great West and other engineering firms do a great job of getting public input in ways that the county cannot do.
Right.
They have resources and the personnel that are experts in that. My concern is I don't want to tie the hands of the trust board,
Exactly.
because they potentially are the funding source, or the majority of the funding source. So I guess to use Commissioner Brickmeyer's blessing, yes. Approval, go forward and prosper, not being negative at all. But I don't want to see the trust board saying, well, we want to do the smaller one, but the commissioners did this one. And it is their funding. And when I say theirs, it's county funding, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, it does.
So approval, I personally want to stop short of that.
Yeah.
So we're just saying move forward,
Yeah.
Parks and Rec, with the application you feel is best, and let the trust board give guidance from there.
And let the rec board do their presentation and their work however they see fit.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
That's my,
Yep, I think that's where we're at. So, I guess the message to take back to the rec board is that we'll support either one.
Yeah.
But, okay,
That's awesome.
okay,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Anything else for me while I'm here?
well, that's a big question for somebody involved in planning. I don't have any.
Good. Okay. All right. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Alrighty. So, I think all we have left is some claims to approve.
Oh, can I make a public comment?
You may.
We have board openings. Speaking of boards, we have board openings. We have a position on the Parks and Rec Board, the Museum Board, and the Solid Waste Board. If you're interested, call the staff person associated with those, or Daleen, or email us. But we really could use some public involvement with Parks and Rec, Museum, and Solid Waste. That's all.
Good call.
We have some great boards and some wonderful people that serve on them, and we appreciate them.
Yes.
They help to make our life a little bit easier. Okay. Guess the first claim is the amount of $34,390.02.
I would move to approve the claim in the amount of $34,390.02.
I will second that.
Okay, motion is made and seconded to approve the claim in the amount of $34,390.02. Is there any public discussion? Any public discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, claims in the amount of $359,642.15.
Move to approve claims for $359,642.15.
I'll second that motion.
Motion is made and seconded to approve claims in the amount of $359,642.15. Any public discussion? Any public discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Claims in the amount of $32,510.61.
I would move to approve the claims in the amount of $32,510.61.
I will second that.
Motion is made and seconded to approve claims in the amount of $32,510.61. Any public discussion? Any public discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Guess all our claims must have built up, huh? Claims in the amount of $9,499.40.
Move to approve claims for $9,499.40.
I'll second that.
Motion is made and seconded to approve claims in the amount of $9,499.40. Any public discussion? Any public discussion? Any public discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
More?
One more, I promise. Okay, claim the amount of $36,255.34.
I would move to approve the claims in the amount of $36,255.34.
I will second that.
Motion is made and seconded to approve claim in the amount of $36,255.34. Any public discussion? Any public discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I guess one comment, it's Fair Week, everybody.
I was just gonna say that.
So go out and enjoy the fair, support the 4-H. There'll be some great food vendors out there. I think there's a free concert tomorrow night. We'll listen to Angie sing at the Betsy Saturday.
Midnight.
Okay, so anything else?
See you at the fair.
Okay. We're adjourned. 10:44.